Fantastic. All right. Welcome to the first of many collaborations between Starfish Astrology and
Violet Dragonfly.
We will have links to our in the description. We have links and stuff, so you can come find us wherever we are, both on the internet and physically, maybe. If you want to find us that way, maybe.
My exact location is broadcasted in this description.
or at least, within a reasonable parameter, it works. So what we're going to do today, and this is our first one, so it might be a little bit all over the place, but I'll do my best to keep things directed and relatively focused. But what we'll be doing is a little overview and then getting into new moon, which is coming up, and full moon energies for this month, and then a little bit of a love forecast because it's love month. It's Cupid month. All right. So the first thing that I'm going to jump into is that I'm just going to assume that everybody has needs layman's terms in astrology. So if you are more, well versed in the terminology, then oh well. Hopefully, I'll explain things well enough that it doesn't bore those with knowledge, but also interests people without. So there's two planets that are making a really big splash in the astrology world right now. And those planets are Saturn and Uranus. And they represent entirely different things, really, when you think about it. And they're outer planets, so they move slower. And that means they spend more time in a sign, and they also will go direct and retrograde, which isn't actually planets moving backwards. It's more an illusion based on our positioning against the sun and the rest of the planets. But either way, they go retrograde, they go direct, so they don't stay in the same cycle. They go back and forth. So that makes their time in a sign even longer. And sometimes they'll go into one sign, like Saturn did last year, went into Aquarius and snuck back into Capricorn again for a little bit. So Saturn is authority. It's the father figure. It's all the systems that are in place. And we've had a lot of Capricorn energy that we're breaking out of, and Saturn traditionally rules Capricorn. So if you think about Saturn and Capricorn energy being very similar and having a lot of tradition, Capricorn's about tradition, and it likes things to be systematic, and it's the builder of the zodiac. It likes to take things, because it is a cardinal sign. Cardinal signs like to start things from the ground up. And you got to think of a Capricorn being more like a beaver builder and wanting to create order out of materials. And you've seen a lot of things break down over the last few years, the last decade, really. You've seen the Me Too movement come out. So there we go. We're starting to learn about the vast inequality everywhere, but in terms of being bullied by sexual coercion, which I've experienced at work, I think pretty much, I don't know any woman who hasn't. And then seeing how that makes its way into these, high power situations where people think they can just get away with anything. That's Pluto and Capricorn breaking things down. And also the help of Saturn and Jupiter breaking things down. We've seen a lot of systems. We're looking at, how people are becoming wise to Wall Street, not just recently, but even years ago when they were doing, people were parking out on, on Central Park and picketing and such. So we've been learning a lot about how we're being subjugated by our traditions. Not all tradition is bad, but you really have to learn how to cut away the things that don't work. That's where the signs Aquarius comes in, right? You have Uranus, the ruler of Aquarius, coming in. Now Uranus is in Taurus. So you got to think about Aquarius being the rule breaker, the rebel, not just to be rebellious, but because they really cannot see how things are still working for one person but not another, meaning that there's a humanitarian vibe that sprouts out of that Capricorn, like, I'm going to build a system. Then Aquarius says, okay, that system was great for now, but we're going to um, turn this system into something that actually works for everybody in some way, shape, or form. So now we're going to see these things go to a grander scale. So Uranus it's a shocking sign, and it's associated with awakening. Awakening is never really pleasant. If you think you're having a pleasant awakening experience, you're not awakening to anything. You're just in the same dream. So Saturn and Uranus are going to clash because Uranus is all about breaking down patterns and Saturn is patterns. So we're going to find our first real strong square of the two. And I'm just looking at my little chart here to make sure I'm going to be conveying this to you correctly. So yeah, we're kind of already there, but by the 11th, it starts to get closer and closer. And this conjunction, I'm sorry, the square is going to last for about a month. Then the planets are going to move apart. One planet's going to go into retrograde, the other one's going to go direct, and then they're going to hit again in June. So there's a little 3-month cycle going on here. So Uranus wants to break rules, but it's in Taurus, and Taurus is very stubborn. Uranus is not happy in Taurus. Taurus likes things to be the same all the time. And if you've ever known someone with strong Taurus energy, you know how stubborn they can be, or at the very least, they're very set in certain ways of thinking and habits, and it can be difficult to get them out of those habits. So we're looking at a lot of unrest, and you've probably, noticed there's just a lot of clashing going on. Things seem super polarized. People are, blinding themselves to nuances in ways of thinking, and they're going to be kind of rigid at first. That's the Taurus energy. But then Uranus is going to put those people who are really very rigid into a rude awakening. It's going to suck for those people in particular. If you're the type of person that kind of looks at everything and tries to find a middle ground, this isn't going to affect you quite as bad, but it is going to affect you because you're going to care about the people around you that it's happening to. When Saturn's in Saturn's in Aquarius, you got to think that Uranus and Saturn are in the square, and Saturn is in the sign that Uranus really feels comfortable in. So there's a weird, even though it's a square and squares are challenging, there's a weird synergy to it, where it is all working for the greater good, but you're probably not going to see it until you're way past it. And that's kind of a lot of lessons in life, right? And then the last thing I'll say about that for now is the square is happening at a time when there's a lot of signs in Aquarius. We got the Sun, Mercury, Venus, all have hit Uranus at different times. Saturn's obviously sticking around for a lot longer. But we also have Jupiter in Aquarius. So there's a lot of very fixed, airy energy for this month. And some of you who are very airy, Geminis and Libras, also Aquariuses, but also people on the fire end of things, especially if you were born kind of in the middle of your sign, Aries, Sagittarius, Leo, you're going to be feeling maybe a little ungrounded and unsettled, and it might make you cranky if you have other aspects of your chart that prefer things be very status quo. If you don't like disruptions to your schedule or to your ways of thinking or to your ways of living, you're going to have a hard time with this. And those of you that are a little bit more go with the flow are, obviously not. But then again, Aquarius energy is fixed, which means it can be hard to break through. So they can also be stubborn in their own way, and they can be very much in their head. So one of the things that I would say is we've got to learn to, while all this air energy is going on, also Aquarian energy is going on, which is very, intellectual, headspacey. Remember to use your heart. So we've got to remember to have empathy. We have to use that in all of these intellectual conversations that we're having with people and seeing the nuance in things. So that will be an important thing to remember for this month. Amanda, what do you have for us on for the new moon, which I believe we'll be experiencing
Was it on
in a couple days? we're pretty much almost there, right?
We're in new moon energy.
Right. Isn't that what I said?
I think it was on the 3rd.
You think it was the 3rd? No, because
Don't quote me.
because right now the moon's in Sagittarius. So for it to be new moon, it's got to be in Aquarius. So yeah, the 11th.
11th, yeah.
11th.
Okay.
I always double check, even though I think I know it. But and then before you go on the 11th, we're gonna have Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Jupiter, Saturn, all in Aquarius. That's considered a stellium when you have 3 or more, but maybe 4 or more planets in the same sign. So it's really, it can feel really out there right now.
And it does. Thank you.
Does it? Tell me more.
No.
Oh.
Too personal. Okay. So, what some energies we can expect for this new moon on February 11th? It does feel, well, new moons are always a good time for manifesting, but this feels particularly powerful in focusing on manifesting the things that you may have almost or slightly given up on. Those things and dreams and goals that maybe you felt were too far out of reach, that kind of puts you out of your comfort zone. This would be a good time for setting some intentions and working on manifesting those blessings. And this is kind of trying to mix itself in with the full moon a little bit. But I think in between this new moon and then the full moon, there's going to be a lot of things that are coming to an end. Some like personal issues will be closing out, and maybe some people will be leaving jobs and getting new jobs more around the full moon time. Definitely like a kind of scrubbing the walls energy, getting some of the scum out of your life. Yeah, so staying grounded and focused towards these dreams and goals. Definitely some magical energy. So if you are within the magical practice, rituals, intention settings, and things like that, definitely use some of those around this new moon. Some of these things that are going to be ending are going to be more on the spiritual, personal, deeper levels, just cutting out some of the habits and cycles within yourself that just aren't serving any purpose anymore. So very powerful new moon stuff going on. Do we want to dive into the full moon energy here?
Well, I got to do my thing on the new moon. So this new moon is so powerful because all of the other planets are basically supporting it. So so what you say makes total sense, because like on the 11th, you got the moon in Aquarius, and as it moves throughout the day, it's going to be making connections with Venus in Aquarius and Jupiter in Aquarius and Mercury in Aquarius. It's going to do Saturn before that, but either way, like this, this moon has a whole lot of attention on it from the rest of the universe, the galaxy anyways, I should say, the planets in our, Milky Way, right? Like the sun's going to shine on it, and, Mercury is going to talk to it, and Venus is going to love it, and Saturn is going to try to, stabilize it. And the moon's like, heck no, you can't touch me. And, Jupiter's going to try to make it grow, like that. And, a lot of astrologers are using the term wish fulfillment, like the time as the new moon is moving through these planets, and we have Venus and Mercury and Jupiter all conjoining right at the end of this week and right in time for Valentine's Day, is that there's a lot of wish fulfillment. Like Jupiter is a great benefactor to have. It's a very positive planet. Now, of course, there's something a little bit challenging about each planet, which could mean excess. So, but Jupiter could be, it's going to blow up Venus. It's going to make everybody feel more love and connection than ever before. It's going to blow up Mercury. It's going to make people, really want to communicate, how they feel and communicate all sorts of things. It's going to blow up the moon, and people's emotional, triggers are going to, so be careful. Jupiter's going to do all of that. So the cards obviously and the planets are all in sync. We know that, but I just wanted to reinforce what you said, that there's like, this is actually a really good week coming up, guys. Like, take advantage of it. You know what I mean? Good feelings all around. Tell me about the full moon.
All right. Let's see. So the full moon is on the 27th of February.
Yeah, end of the 27th into the 28th. Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait a second. Hold on. Let me make sure I'm getting this right. I just got to make sure I'm getting this correct. I still doubt myself even to this day that I know what I'm talking about half the time. No, it is the 27th and 28th. Yeah. We're good. Tell us what we got.
Okay, so some of these things that were happening in the new moon and the feelings, residual feelings leading up to the full moon, and those purgings of things that are no longer serving you are going to leave you feeling more uplifted and like you're shining a bit brighter. And it kind of feels like there's like powerful energy, and then it's kind of evening out, and you're like, what's my next step? And it might be a little bit unclear, but it does feel like there's answers coming, and maybe even like answers from other people wanting to help you or communicate with you. That's definitely bringing in focus for this, whatever it is that you were manifesting in the new moon. And okay. Now, things might be lining up so beautifully that might get a little overconfident or cocky, or just like really feeling yourself, and then like, which is, it's okay to feel good about yourself, but sitting in that energy too firmly can kind of take away the humbleness and cloud the wisdom that you have. So kind of just keep that in check, keep the ego in check a little bit, because these blessings are all coming in and it feels so good. You can kind of put yourself on a pedestal, but don't go thinking you're better than everybody. I also think that your wisdom and spiritual like enlightenment and your knowledge and whatever it is that you are manifesting is definitely part of your power and your life path here. So this is things kind of getting set into action after the manifestations, really. Do we want an affirmation for the new moon and for the full moon?
Yeah, let me just do the astrological bit for the full moon. I'm trying to get somebody to join this call with us right now. It's Kaylin. So the full moon being at the end of the month, and of course ushering in March. So the full moon is always in the opposite sign of the sun, and so once we're in, February 28th, sun's in Pisces. So of course that full moon is going to be in Virgo. So what that kind of says, full moon's a culmination of a cycle, right? So what it's telling you to do is like, dot all your I's and cross all your T's and make sure all the things that you think you've accomplished are actually like above board and done correctly and have the right steps done, and you haven't taken any shortcuts. And also just to be meticulous about keeping up on it. And also if there's any new information that you've learned about whatever it is that whatever you're coming to the crux of here with the moon, which usually has to do with your emotions, but also your daily habits. Like there is a mundane aspect to the moon. A lot of it has to do with your, what you do from day to day. You wake up, you do these 5 things, or your job routine or whatever. But it has a lot to do with your emotional security, and this is where a lot of our knee-jerk reactions come from our early childhood. So moon in Virgo, it's like security through analyzing. So you might find yourself over analyzing your feelings during the culmination of this cycle and just wondering if all those wonderful things that just happened when we had that amalgamation of new moon and Aquarius and Jupiter and Venus and yay and all this stuff, like you might overthink it a little bit, like, ooh, could come from multiple angles depending on your personal chart. It could be like, oh, do I deserve that? Or it could be, oh, should I shown those feelings? Or, so you might kind of start to analyze your emotions. And I think what's important to remember here is kind of similar to when we have all the plants in Aquarius, is to remember you think it's emotions. Don't think about them, just feel them, let them go day to day, because emotions do change, and try not to get hung up in your head about what's going on. And to speak to Amanda's interpretation of, some of that feeling of maybe, things are going so great and you get kind of confident and cocky, that's Jupiter kind of jumping in and it kind of exaggerates everything and makes you feel really good, which is nice, but sometimes we can feel really good at the expense of other people. So we have to be careful about that. And also we can feel really good, and then we have to come down a little bit when this full moon goes into Virgo and say, okay, I need to go back and check some details and make sure that everything's as good as I think it is. So that's all. It's not telling you to regret what you've reaped, or maybe what you've reaped wasn't what you wanted it to be, and now you need to go back and think about a better plan of attack. But that does go in a lot with the reading that she gave you. Is Jupiter is going to make you feel overconfident, especially if you are an air sign, especially if you're an air sign, particularly if you were born in the middle of your zodiac range. Okay, so let's do affirmations. I like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for the new moon affirmation we have is, I am brave and will move past my limitations and learn something new, which lines up pretty well, I'd say.
Mm-hmm.
And for the full moon, I am beautiful and accept myself for who I truly am. There's all that awesome stuff to be feeling there.
Yes. Could you maybe speak to the heavy air energy that we're experiencing?
Maybe what we can
Give us an
expect.
idea of like how we can utilize it. If we're feeling overwhelmed in some way, how can we utilize it to, to move forward, or to, I don't know, whatever. Utilize it positively. That's what I.
Okay.
Yeah. Haven't forgotten about you, Cassandra. Is that right?
Kara.
Was it?
Kara.
Oh, but you know what I was thinking of, Cassandra? Because I was thinking of the Cassandra complex, telling the future and nobody believing you, and then you sit there and you watch it all come true, and everybody's in ruins, and you're like, shit, I told you this.
My life.
Yeah, well, I think it could be in the family. I don't know.
Okay. Ooh. Yep, the first card here is the energy is gaining momentum.
Yeah.
So that air energy is kind of
swirling.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I think these next two cards are like the advice that we have here. So look at the bigger picture.
Yeah.
Which this card is associated with Sagittarius.
Yep. Well, Yeah.
And
I attract Sagittarians like flies to, that stuff.
well, you kind of are one.
I'm a partial one. I'm partial.
Fire's pretty fiery.
What?
Your fire's pretty fiery. Yep.
Air is pretty airy.
No, it's not.
Okay, well, you're just mud, okay? So
I enjoy my mud.
you should.
Swamp.
Mudslides are pretty hardcore.
Delicious. Okay.
So is that all, or were you working on something?
Yeah, I was just getting some clarifying cards.
All right, let's do it.
So yeah, we have the look at the bigger picture, and then a time to give rather than take, which is Virgo energy.
Mm-hmm.
So I think what it's trying to say is like the best way to positively harness this air overload is to not hyper focus or hyper analyze, and to try to like, let's see. So I have tranquility and clarity. So trying to kind of stay, it's kind of pulling back to that that in between the new moon, full moon energy of cleansing and getting rid of the muck. So trying to keep a clear mind and trying to stay calm as things may get a little more hectic, as energies do pick up. This definitely feels like a time to think of yourself and your goals and your dreams and what you're working on, and to build yourself and to build a business or to learn more about something, just build knowledge and build experience and things like that. So giving yourself a more well-rounded foundation, which the overall energy here is prosperity. So it does seem like trying to balance out that air energy and like try to counter it with some fire and some earth.
Yeah.
And just try to calm it down a little bit. But it does feel like a very like powerful, successful energy to harness.
I would agree. I would agree with that. Air is of the intellect, so of course the danger of overanalyzing is kind of on both sides there.
Mm-hmm.
And you're right, we don't have a lot of water happening while all this is going on, other than the sun entering Pisces, and Neptune is in Pisces and has been, but we are going to get Venus. I'm just going to go quickly from Valentine's Day to the end of the month, real quick stuff. Valentine's Day, that whole weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, just good feelings all around. So if you can spend time with, it doesn't matter who it is, just spend time with somebody, whether you're in a relationship or not. It looks like, unless you're severely afflicted by all of these planets, because if you had, let's say, a lot of Taurus going on here, Taurus, Leo opposition it can be bad, but if you have a lot of Taurus energy or a lot of Scorpio energy, all of this fixed sign Aquarius stuff could maybe not mean the best Valentine's Day. But the rest of us that don't have a whole lot of that going on, it's going to be like kind of magical, like you said, like things are going to open up. So that's good. And then as we get into the 20th, on the 20th, we have, that's when the sun's going to, actually it goes in the 19th, I should say. So on the 19th, the sun goes into Pisces. And then on the 26th, Venus enters Pisces. So now we're finally sort of evening out the elemental balance here. We're going to have Mars at the end of Taurus. So, when Mars is at the end of Taurus, it means it's heading towards Gemini. So, and Mars is very sensual in Taurus. So there could be just, Mars is aggressive and very masculine. Taurus is feminine and sturdy. And so when Mars is in Taurus, it kind of feels like everybody gets a little bit more sensual, just get a little bit more hunkered down and kind of, we just sort of rest for a bit. And then come the end of the month, the 28th, of course, we're going to have that full moon. But Mercury's well out of retrograde at that point. It's been out for about 10 days at this point. So yay for that. You know, we're going to find that Mars is going to be hitting into Gemini next month in March. So a lot of our aggression is going to find better outlets, any of that stuff. Mars is not just aggression. I mean, it's your basic survival functions, right? So it's sex, it's, how do I put a roof over my head? How do I use my physical energy? And I think we're all going to get a little zing when it goes into Gemini next month. Because that's what Gemini does. It zings. It zings.
Does it?
It does. Is there anything general you'd like to add before we get into a little personal touch with our not Cassandra?
I don't think so.
Okay. So it seems like the theme of the rest of the month is like, use your intuition and your heart, and don't get too stuck up in your head. Don't get too arrogant about anything, or don't get too stuck in your own ideas, really. And to just kind of trust, the parts of you that are feeling and connecting with other people. And, don't overthink anything. Don't take things personally. Don't overthink that thing you said to that person 3 days ago where they looked at you kind of funny. Like, just keep that out of your head. Have a heart. Have a heart. It's so accurate. So we do have a live participator, and I'm not sure how much information she wants to give out, if she wants to type it in. So it's not, because as time goes on and we get more followers, we're not going to be able to have everybody speaking at once. People are going to have to be typing in questions and their birth date. And the way that we can do this is you type in a question and birth date. Amanda starts reading for you immediately while I erect your chart, or at least get an ephemeris going where I can kind of see, like, if you don't know your exact birth time and stuff, it's fine. And then when she's done with that, I can jump in because I've had time to analyze the chart for a couple minutes. So however Kara wants to give out her birth information, I am ready to take it and plug it into my calculations.
I have a birth location. Does that help your chart?
It does, but the time is more important. You have that?
I have everything. I was typing it out and I was like, wait,
that's
do you need
fantastic.
this too?
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead and type it in the chat so I have it like in front of me.
Okay.
And while Amanda reads you, I'll do my thing. Here we go.
All the air energy, I'm like, oh, that's me.
Yeah, Miss Aquarius.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So I'll mute myself and do my thing, and then Amanda will shuffle and drop cards as she does so well.
All right. So, I mean, I just did a reading for Kara, like, what, Monday? I think it was Monday.
I have no idea, like a couple days ago.
Yeah, it was this week. But let's see. Let's see if anything new pops up. I think we're getting some repeat cards here for you, which would make some sense. But it does feel like this communication portion of this month that I was kind of talking about is going to be really prevalent for you. So making new connections and maybe even gaining new knowledge and advice from other people. And I feel like you're having a new experience come in that is going to help you work through some of your more personal fears and doubts. But I think I got this card for you. Expect powerful change. I think that was at the beginning or end of your reading. So hey, you still got that coming in. Definitely some big and bold positive changes that feel like they're much needed. Like you feel like you might have been waiting a little too long for them. Definitely you're taking action towards an area of your life. You're putting things that you're making plans, and this balance card is sticking out to me with the full moon on it. So that kind of says to me that around this full moon time is when things will wait. Oh my God. Okay. I just noticed that all of these moon cards I pulled are new moon cards. All 4 of them are in the new moon. So this new moon could be bringing some really big stuff for you here. That's pretty crazy. And then I got the full moon here. So right around the new moon is when things might start to take action. And then around the full moon is when they start to really settle in and build a foundation. But it does feel like you're working through some fears and doubts of becoming a more open and authentic, outwardly authentic version of yourself. And whatever this journey is definitely divinely guided, and you are being protected during this time as well. And as the previous reading, I'm just like, it feels very positive, like you have very lucky energy around you. So yeah.
Does Kara have any a question that she wants to throw at me before I verbally throw up at her all this stuff?
The astrology stuff is the one that confuses me the most. So I mean the last thing that Amanda said about the fears and doubts about being authentic, that's like my biggest thing ever. Is I have a really hard time not only knowing who I am, but if I do figure that out, having the courage to be that, which I think is difficult for me as someone who is often told as an Aquarius you're unique and all these things, and I'm like, but I don't even know what that is. So I guess I don't know. how do I figure that out, and then how do I find the courage to be true to myself? I guess, is that too much of a loaded question?
Well, I mean, that would probably take an entire chart reading, but I can give you some insight.
Okay.
First, I have a question for you, which you're welcome to, answer in chat if you don't want to do it out loud. But when you were a kid, like, how much were you encouraged in your creative endeavors, and like anytime you were showing off or showing something or doing something, like, were you acknowledged pretty well, or did you get a lot of criticism or not a lot of attention? How did that pan out?
They were definitely, it was kind of like a both almost, like they would let me try everything that I'd want to try, but there was a lot of criticism. So I would start and then quit a lot of things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I don't know how much you know about your chart, but I'm going to try to give you 3 minutes or less, a quick little thing here. But you're in Aquarius. You have a lot of planets in Aquarius, actually. So this energy is affecting you a ton. And it could, just feel like you're being bombarded by trying to figure out what your identity is, because, Aquarius is, it's interesting because I know a lot of Aquarians and I tracked a lot of them. And I find that they're not the most overtly unique. It's not like they're all walking around looking like David Bowie in the early 70s. There's little bits, like I can pick out the quirks, and I love that. And I can find the little things about them that are different and unique. But you have Moon in Leo, which is the opposite sign. And Leo is the type of sign that just needs attention. And eventually it learns that it starts to grow to the point where the attention that they get does not have bearing on who they are as a person, but it takes a while to get there. So you're already kind of at a deficit having Moon in Leo. They call it the closet show off. It's kind of like in your early years, if the things you were interested in, you didn't get a lot of positive reinforcement, you tend to just quit. You're like, oh, I'm not good at this. I'm done. I'm not going to do it. If I can't be good at it, I'm not going to do it. But on the other side, there are people with displacement that I've read who had overly doting parents who come out as these arrogant, freaking like everything they do. If you don't like them or you don't like what they do, they'll just brush you off. I don't know which person I would rather be, because it feels like that latter person doesn't have to deal with the self-criticizing, but then the other person does, So I don't know how much this resonates with you, but you have that moon in Leo opposite your Mercury in Aquarius. They're about the same degree. So a lot of what you think about yourself is wrapped up in your ego. And if you've ever done any, a lot of the New Age spirituality stuff just gets ridiculous. But there is, in my opinion, like a sort of a crucifixion of the ego in this New Age. Like you need your ego. It's important. Like that's how you create boundaries and keep people from treating you like a doormat. But in this case, you got the moon, which is emotions, and you have Leo, which is very ego and very like pride based. So how well does it work when your emotions are mixed up with your pride? Like when does that ever go well? Does it? So moon in Leo is always looking external, for external validation in some way, shape, and form. And it comes from childhood because that's the moon. So so in terms of who you are as a person, I think it just has a lot to do with you listening more to yourself and listening to the little tiny voice, because you must have sometimes occasionally have a voice where like things are going really well, you just did something and you rocked it and you're really good at it, or you just made a new friend and there's this little voice that says, boy, I'm pretty cool, or I'm kind of good at that. I like being me. And then but it's not the prevalent voice, right? It just kind of like whispers to you and then it goes away. So you have to put yourself into moments where you can find that voice coming out and realizing that, oh, I like that. I like that part about me. And my suggestion is to write it out, because your inner voice might not repeat it again for a while, but you need to see it somewhere on paper. Or maybe you have a good friend that will remind you, so that's one part of it. There's also some Saturn connections to your moon that tells me like maybe a lot of criticism was from father or father figure, or maybe you feel more deeply criticized by males and females. I'm not really sure, because I'd have to look at your chart a little longer, but there's also the sense that maybe authority might not sit well with you in some ways. Either you collapse under the weight of it too much, or you do the opposite and you try to poke at it and knock it down and not listen to it. So I'm guessing more of the former, but I don't know.
That was amazing. Sorry. That was like, I was trying to like write everything down as fast as I could. I was like, holy shit. I didn't know any of this stuff about myself. The wrapped up in the ego accomplishment thing, I was like, oh my God, that is what I've been doing my entire life. I would quit if like I wasn't immediately amazing at it and people didn't recognize me for it.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Anytime. I'm here anytime you need a full reading. Yeah, and you'll have access to the video if you need to see it again and write down more stuff too as well. But for those of you watching and those of you interested in coming in live, that's the type of, you can come in and get a little live reading, and, we'll have to limit it to a certain number of people, of course, and keep it short and sweet. But I think we did a pretty good job with the 45 minutes that we're coming up on 45 minutes. We did a big overview where we probably could have cut out maybe 5 minutes of it, but for the most part, mostly information. And then we gave some time to our live friend, not Cassandra, Kara. And this is a good time to, whatever channel you're watching this on, you can subscribe and then link to the other channel that's on, because I have tons of astrology videos and I'm going to be making more because I haven't been doing a good job of it. We're going to try to make this maybe bi-weekly or monthly. We're going to try to sort of go along with the moon. And we're looking to just get more and more live people to come in and give feedback and have community. And eventually, you know, what it's going to turn into is, while we don't, we don't expect everybody to have the resources and the funding, especially right now, everybody's job is up in the air. But eventually, over time, there'll be so many people joining in that if you do want your reading, you will have to make a donation, just because we'll have like dozens of people listening to us at some point. So, you know, Kara got in early.
I love how the goal is dozens. We're going to be dozens famous.
We'll be dozens. Well, because at some point, I mean, I guess I could upgrade the Zoom account and go over 100. I just can't right now. But if we got 100 people, I will happily pay to upgrade my Zoom account.
I would pee my pants if we had 100 people.
Okay, everybody, you heard it first.
If you want to see me wet myself.
we need 101 viewers. Okay,
Yes.
so we're gonna end this video right now, and hopefully we'll have more. And feel free to email us again. We have that information down in the description. We hope you had a good time, because we did.
Yeah, we did. Thanks, guys. Thank you, Kara.